What's going on, guys? Stefan, S&E's Garage. In the past couple of months, the channel's kind of taken a turn and we kind of took on a jet ski project. And you guys watched us from start to finish turn that jet ski from a $500 jet ski to a potentially $5,000 jet ski, which is awesome. But I've neglected the TRD for a little while. And I know this car is why a lot of you subscribe to my channel, and for that I am very grateful. So today we're going to go take it for a ride. We're going to show you, how many miles we have on it now, and we're going to tell you our plans for it going into the new year, because we are not done with this car yet. We still have a ton of videos to make with it, and we're going to tackle that this coming year. So let's crack open the garage doors, let's fire it up, let's go for a ride. Alright guys, so here we are. Right now we are at 16,864 miles, and we've owned this car for just shy of 2 years. In February, it will be our 2-year mark, and we've loved every minute of it. This car has been phenomenal. It's given us zero issues. You'll see we have our car seats back here. It has served us well. It has never left us stranded. So, as far as reliability is concerned, it's a Toyota. We knew that was going to be the case, and that's one of the reasons we bought it. I was cross-shopping this with the Kia Stinger, but at the time, especially a Hyundai technician, I was in the loop with those Kias, and the twin-turbo V6 was having some issues with turbo recalls, and I decided against it. So we went with the less powerful, more reliable, more robust Camry. The Camry is a proven vehicle, and it's just, you can't compare it to a Kia. You will never be able to compare a Toyota to a Kia or a Hyundai ever. They're just on a different area. They're better cars. There's no comparison. So when I get in this car, one of the first things I'll always do is I'll flick it into sport mode. You'll see we have our red gauges and our red little screen there. If we had it in normal mode, that would be blue. And it's just a habit. I get in, throw in sport mode. I like the way it shifts better in sport mode, tightens up the steering a little bit, and it just gives me a more engaging driving experience. Now, a question that I get a lot is on my Resonator Delete video. And I get guys asking me all the time, are you still happy with your Resonator Delete after a year and a half? Is the drone bad? How do you like it? And my answer is exactly the same as it was when I made that video. This car sounds and drives amazing. And that Resonator Delete only makes that experience more enjoyable. It kept the factory tone and sound quality of the exhaust, but it added a little bit more volume, and way up top, it added a little bit of rasp, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. This 2GR has a very, very, very excellent exhaust note. I think it sounds worlds better than the Nissan VQ or any other V6 in its class. It just has a very, very good, smooth sound, and that Resonator Delete only brings that sound out even more. Now, I coupled that Resonator Delete with the InGen intake, so I get it from both ends. I get more induction noise from the front, and I get more exhaust noise from the back. The engine's still a little cold, so I don't want to beat on it too bad yet, but that's we'll show you how it sounds. Now, as far as fuel economy goes, we average around 25 miles to the gallon with this. Now, I am not a very mild driver. I tend to drive a little bit more on the spirited side, especially in this car, so that's to be expected. So you'll see that's, you know, I drive like that a lot. I wind it up, I let it, you know, shift through the gears, and that's kind of what you get with a V6 when you run it a little hard. It's not going to get the 30 miles to the gallon that a 4-cylinder might. But on the highway, if I'm cruising with cruise control on, it'll absolutely touch on 30 miles to the gallon. So this tank, we've averaged 26 miles to the gallon, and we did do a little highway driving this tank, so that's why that tank average is a little bit higher than the complete average since the last time we reset it, which I honestly couldn't even tell you when. So what are our plans for 2023? Well, earlier this year, in fact, I believe it was in the very beginning of the year, you will have seen the video of us adding subwoofer and an amplifier, and we kind of beefed up the lower end of the audio system on this car. And what I think we're going to tackle next is the dash speakers and the door speakers, both front and rear. We're going to be doing that towards the beginning of the new year, while the car is down for the winter. I think that'll make some good content, and it'll increase our enjoyability of the sound system of this car. It sounds good the way it is, but I think we can make the, you know, the high end a little bit crisper. We already reinforced the low end here with our 12-inch subwoofer in the back and amplifier. So why not try to make the, you know, the highs a little bit more crisp. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to amplify it yet. I'm going to do some research. I don't want to be, you know, hacking into this factory wire harness or anything. So if I can find a plug-and-play amplifier, maybe Taco Tunes I was looking at, I might go that route. And then we can put a really nice set of components in this, which is basically you'd have your woofer in the door and your tweeters up in the dash with a, you know, a crossover. I think that would be a very, very solid way to go. But I can also just throw some low impedance, you know, speakers in here with you know, comparable specs to stock, just better, and especially sensitivity. You need to have a low sensitivity speaker when you're using your factory amplifier. So as long as I can find something like that, I think that would work too. So we have some research to do. We have some options. Comment down below. Let me know what you would do if this were your car, or, you know, I'll take that into consideration. Now, I just want you guys to listen really quick. We're cruising right now, 50 miles an hour, resonator deleted, cold air intake, and you can barely hear the exhaust. Yeah, it's there, but it's not really noticeable, which is what I like about this car. It's quiet when you want it to be, and then you punch it, and it wakes right up. It gives you a nice sound. And it's quick for what it is. It's a V6. It's a 4-door family sedan. It's got 300 horsepower. That's C4 Corvette territory, you know, back in the late 90s, as far as power is concerned. You know, these cars make good power for what they are, and they're pretty quick. Now, I see a lot of people knock these cars because of the 8-speed transmission, and while I'll admit, if these were available with a manual transmission, I would have been the first to buy it. But unfortunately, Toyota, in their infinite wisdom, did not offer this trim level with that option. They didn't even offer the Camry in general with that option. But what I have found to be very helpful is, like I said, we put it in sport mode. And that eliminates a lot of the gear hunting that people will complain about with this transmission. It'll keep it in a lower gear. In other words, it'll keep it out of overdrive, and it'll make it so when you hit the throttle, it doesn't have to downshift as much, because it's already in a lower gear than it would be. So for example, we're in sport mode now. We're doing, what, 35, 36 miles an hour? Let's go into normal, and you'll see it's going to downshift right away. It's going to downshift 2 gears. So it just downshifted twice. So that means the next time I go to hit the throttle, it's got to downshift that many more gears to get you in the gear you want to be. Whereas if I'm in sport mode, I didn't touch the throttle, all I did was put it in sport mode, you'll see we're in a lower gear. So it's right there, and it's ready to go. So that eliminates a lot of the lag and the issues that people seem to complain about with this transmission and engine combination. Throw in sport mode when you get in it. I'm telling you, it's going to increase your driving experience tenfold. Now, this TRD trimmed Camry is not your grandmother's Camry. This Camry has many modifications by Toyota to stiffen up the suspension, to stiffen up the chassis, and to stiffen up the steering. They have stiffer front and rear roll bars. They have wider wheels. They have lower springs, so the car sits about a ½ inch lower. And they have multiple chassis braces under the car to tighten everything up, along with Highlander front disc brakes. This has the front brakes from a Highlander, so they are 2-piston floating calipers with, I believe they are 12.9, they might be 12.9 inch rotors. I don't remember exactly, but they're bigger than the factory Camry. So you hit the brakes and she stops. Now we went ahead and upgraded to the power stop drilled and slotted rotors in the front end, mainly for brake dust, because these things make horrible brake dust with the factory pads. And we've had good luck with them. Car still stops phenomenally, and we have a lot less brake dust, and they just look good behind the wheel. So if you are looking at a TRD Camry, just keep in mind, it's not going to ride like your grandfather's Camry did. This is a entry-level sports sedan, is what I would call it. It's not quite on par with the European rear-wheel drive, BMW vehicles, but it is a very nice, affordable sport family sedan. I call this car dad fast. It's fast for a dad car, and as you see, like I said, we have our car seats back there. So let's go ahead, let's hop on the highway. We'll do a little on-ramp merge, and I'll let you hear it. Now, I don't really like the way this transmission is geared. I think that first, second, and third are a little bit too long. I feel like if these were geared a little bit on the shorter end, that we would have quite a bit more acceleration, especially that shift into third. Third gear, absolutely, car falls on its face. I'm not even going to lie to you. So what Toyota should have done with this car is changed the gearing from the base level. I shouldn't say base, because it's an XSE V6. They should have changed the gearing from the XSE V6 to the TRD and given it some shorter gears in order to make it a little bit more quicker. So here we are, coming onto the parkway here. You'll see this car is very forgiving. The suspension isn't too bad. You see, we're going over some bumps and stuff now. You get some road noise. It's not terrible. And again, with the resonator delete, you'll hear, like I said, you can hear it. You can hear the exhaust. I'm not even gonna lie to you. You hear it, but it's not unbearable, and it's not much worse than stock. It's right about where the stock exhaust is. You just get a little bit more volume out of it. Now, as for passing power, again, we're in sport mode, we're cruising, we're doing 70 miles an hour. I'm gonna throw my blinker on, I'm gonna floor it. There's 80. So it's got plenty of pickup, plenty of get up and go to get around vehicles, obstacles, whatever the case may be. And like I said, in sport mode, the response of the transmission is much better than that of if you have it in normal or eco. It makes a big difference in the way the car drives. You don't need a pedal commander. You don't need any stupid trickery to the ECM, because all you're doing is making it think you're pressing the accelerator more than you are. Just put your foot to the floor, let the car do its thing. It's not going to let you down. Now, here on the highway, you'll see, like I said, we're cruising. we're getting just shy of 30 miles a gallon right now. I'd probably call that right around 28, 30. You know, you see it going up and down. So on the highway, this engine will switch into what's called the Atkinson cycle. And what that does is it holds the intake valves open during the compression stroke, and it blows some of that compression back into the intake. So what that's going to do is eliminate pumping loss, and it's going to reduce the charge size of the compression stroke. So it's going to allow the engine to run on less air and less fuel, thus saving you gas mileage. On the highway, this V6 Camry rivals that of my 2007 four-cylinder, which is amazing, because that four-cylinder, that's a 2.4 liter, this is a 3.5, so we got 1.5 liters more displacement in this engine. We got 2 more cylinders, and it gets pretty much the same fuel economy as that four-cylinder does, which is, you know, unbelievable. But again, I just want you to listen. We got little to no road noise, little to no exhaust noise. And again, you hit the throttle and it's ready to go. Use the paddles to downshift a little bit. Take our off ramp here. It wouldn't let me go any lower. Off into the sunset. Alright guys, so here we are on a little bit of a rougher road. This right lane here is pretty rough. And I just kind of wanted to hit some bumps, show you, see if you can hear the kind of road noise we have. Like I said, TRD has a little bit of a stiffer suspension, lower profile tires, so it's not going to ride as smooth as an LE, XSE, or XLE. Like I said, not your grandmother's Camry, but it still is very forgiving. It is very daily drivable. And as you saw before on our on and off ramps, it adds quite a bit of confidence to your driving experience. The car just drives, and it drives well. It doesn't really understeer or oversteer much unless you really push it, and it's gonna tend to understeer because it's a front wheel drive vehicle. That engine is gonna kind of push. But it's very confidence inspiring at the limits, which is nice. So I'm just going to let the transmission do its thing. I'm not going to downshift. I'm not going to use my flappy paddles. I'm just going to throw our blinker on. We're going to make this right turn. And I'm going to hammer down and let you see how it shifts. Spun the tires a little bit. Second into third. And just like that, we were at 60. So those of you watching that subscribe to my channel because of this car and because of the things that we've done to this car, I just want to say thank you. You guys have made modifying this car possible, because without you guys watching these videos, I really honestly would not have the spare cash to do what I've done to this car and what I plan to do to it. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, if you guys have any videos that you would like to see me do on this car, or any mod ideas, please comment down below. Let me know. When it is time for tires, I definitely plan on doing a new set of wheels. I'm not going to tell you what yet, because I'm still not even 100% sure. I know what direction I'm kind of going, but I want that to be a surprise when I do it. So again, I greatly appreciate what you guys do. You watch. If you're not subscribed, please take the time now to go ahead, click the subscribe button, and help us and watch our videos, because like I said, every little bit helps.